my eye. Through the mist, my surprise shone light from distant northern skies. At that point, I realized I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all an illusion, then I'm willing to play.
Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show, interviews with awakened masters as they share their quantum work with you. The Quantum Guide Show is produced by Karen Holton, creator of the 9 Steps to Quantum Health Transformation, a free 9-step online course to give you the tips and resources you need to thrive. Karen lost and continues to keep off 178 pounds of surplus body weight as she made her dreams come true. Whether you are awakening to the ascension process or simply want a wiser, more efficient lifestyle, this program is for you. No strings attached. The Quantum Guide Show is brought to you in part by Zendome's Orgonite, Karen's unique brand of orgone generators, ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. Find out how orgone generators work and what they can do for you. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out Karen's current selection, only available from her website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Quantum Health Transformation. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Quantum Guides Show. Today in episode 78, my returning guest is Preston Dennett, and my first-time guest is Dolly Safran. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Preston Dennett first began investigating UFOs in 1986 after learning that his family, friends, and co-workers were having encounters. Since then, he has interviewed hundreds of people and investigated a wide variety of cases. He has written 29 books and more than 100 articles about UFOs and the paranormal. Preston is a frequent guest on radio and TV, and he gives talks all across the United States. Preston is currently residing in Southern California. My other guest, Dolly Safran, has worked as a limo driver, assistant manager at Wendy's, a zookeeper, a bus driver, a security guard, a nurse, and more, including as a civilian worker for the U.S. Department of the Treasury, and also in the Army as an employee for the U.S. Department of Defense. Her UFO contact began around the age of 1, and her contact is still going on today. Dolly and her adventures are the subject of Preston's latest book called Symmetry, a true UFO adventure. Hello, Preston and Dolly. Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show. How are you today?
Hey, awesome.
Yeah, doing good.
Great to hear. So why don't you start off maybe by telling us how this all, if you want, you can touch on how this all got started for you, Dolly, but then how did things get to the point where you and Preston ended up collaborating and working together on his book and the important message that you want to get out to everybody?
Okay, I'm a generational contactee. I've been having experiences since I was actually 10 months old. It progressed rather rapidly for me. I have spotty memories until I'm 14, but I remember being contacted when I was 6, and I met a tall gray by the name of Mama. I call her Mama, and I learned who they all were and how they operated and that sort of thing. I have experiences of being retrieved and taken up. I have memories of being in a school somewhere from time to time. I have abilities. I'm psychic, I'm telekinetic, I can levitate. There's all kinds of weird, crazy experiences in my life. They just weren't all snapping together consciously. When I was
Mhm.
14, I decided that I just needed to wake up. I either was totally insane out of my mind, or this was all really real.
Mhm.
So I basically went on a campaign to figure it out. And one night I had my chance. I was out doing my telescope. I was taking astronomy lessons, and my dad said, go to bed. It was a school night. It's 1 a.m. So I packed down my scope, went into my room, got dressed. I'm not a heavy sleeper. I only sleep about 2 hours a day. And so I sat on the edge of my bed with my elbows up on the window looking out, because Orion was up that night. And I love Orion. Beautiful, beautiful. Back in those days, they didn't have all the light pollution we do now. And it was just
Mhm.
glorious, gorgeous that night. No wind, nothing. Um, I started seeing more stars than were supposed to be there. I was like, ooh, ooh, this is it. And I start really looking at it. And they all paired off. There were about 100 of them. And they paired off into twos. Some went east, west, north, and south. But 2 of them came down over our area in Miami. One of them went toward Dayland Mall, which is on Kendall Road in Kendall, and the other one came out to where we were in the Everglades. It came down over our house, over our backyard, and I have trees outside my window, and the trees started whipping around wildly like there was a heavy wind, but there was no wind. And I thought, oh my God. And I saw this craft. As it came down, it became metallic looking. I finally saw that it was metallic, and I started memorizing it. I thought, I cannot forget this. I cannot. And when I got up to the ports, they weren't round. They were, oblong. And there were one being in each port staring right at me. I mean, right at me. And I went, oh, I'm not ready for this. And I turned and I was going to dive under my bed. It just shook me so bad. I couldn't even make it to the floor. I froze, and blue white lights just lit up my room. That's the last of that memory, just gone. I woke up that morning, 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning, on the floor of my room, disheveled. I'm not wearing my own pajamas anymore. I'm wearing something else that's inside out backwards. And I just start crying. I'm like, oh God, maybe I'm crazy. And then it dawned on me, wait a minute, where are my clothes? And I thought, oh my God, I got to talk to my mom, dad, somebody. I went and got dressed, cleaned up, took a shower. It's a school day. Went in the kitchen. My mom was in there. She says, make coffee. And I'm trying to talk to my mother about this, who hates UFOs, cannot stand them. Okay. And I
Mhm.
said, Mom, did y'all see anything last night? You hear anything? Lights, blah, blah. She said, what are you talking about? I said, UFOs. And she just whirled on me. Nope. That means no talking. I sat there,
Mhm.
I was so mad. I was so mad. I was like, how do I tell this woman she's got to talk to me about this? This is serious, okay? The radio was on. It was Paul Harvey. And the news suddenly came on. While I'm stewing, trying to think about it, I drank my first cup of coffee, by the way, that day. It's memorial to me, memorable. The radio changed. The news came on. And the first thing out of his mouth was, 2 Dadeland police officers saw UFOs last night. And they described it perfectly. I lost my mind. I started jumping up and down. I was whooping and hollering. This is confirmation. Not only do I not have the same clothes, but now I hear it on the radio. I'm not crazy. I knew then this is it. My mother was having none of it. She whirled on me again, said, you were dreaming. Get out of my kitchen. I was like dejected. Okay. I was
Mhm.
mad. I'm hopping up and down. I'm really upset. I mean, upset more in my life ever. And my dad met me at the doorway coming in. He said, calm down, calm down, calm down. Gotta go relax, let this, calm down. I'll talk to you later. He said, go meditate. The only private room in our entire house is the bathroom. He
Mhm.
locked the door. So I went in there, locked the door, turned the lights out, and I slumped to the floor. And I'm like, how do I do this? How do I recall this memory? I have to at this point. I was desperately having to. And all I could think to do is to replay moment to moment to moment. From the minute I came in with my scope, everything, I replayed the entire night, inch by inch by inch, moment to moment. When I got up to where the light beam hit me, my whole brain exploded. I mean, it was like somebody slammed into me with a wall of memories all at once. I had an instant migraine. I got sick to my stomach. I started flushing. I was shaking. And I realized what had happened. When the light hit me, an energy ribbon came down. And down that ribbon came 2 beings, 2 AI grays. one of them came up to me. Now I can't move on my own. I'm just looking at him like, oh my God, why can't I move? And he took me by the hand and he pivoted me and he took me to the beam, and my hand was under his and he laid it on the ribbon, and the whole room exploded in bright white light. I could see through it opaquely, but I was in white light and I felt weird. And I started getting nauseous at that point. I mean, really nauseous. We went up and we went through my roof, which scared me actually. Went through the tree and I came up alongside this craft. The ribbon didn't go in it, it ran up alongside it. It was like laying on it. And we got to this doorway that was open. And as soon as my feet got level to get in, he pushed me in the door feet first. And I landed on my bum. And I'm like shaking, I'm freaking out. And I look to my left and there's this woman sitting there smiling at me. And she says like, you did it, you did it, you did it. You know who I am. And I went, and I did. I knew who she was. She was Mama. I met her when I was almost 6 years old. I know her. And that was so overwhelming. I threw up all over myself. I mean, I threw up. I was like really messed up. One of the Grays took me to go get cleaned up. They gave me, they let me clean up. They gave me a decontamination shower. It's like a light shower, and put a smock on me, which is like just like a little dress smock, you know, and walked me back. Well, now I'm in deep shock. I'm shaking. I'm cold. The world is, I'm seeing spots. I mean, it was almost like becoming catatonic. Okay. I was in shock. And they sat me down and she's looking at me and she's saying, get her back up, walk around the craft, let her look, let her touch, you know. So they did. The Gray took me to every place on the craft. My memory started connecting to everything, and everything I touched helped. And then they showed me my room. I have a compartment room in there. I have a bed, and a little nook for I have a book in there and a side table, and then I saw my brush. And that was amazing to me. That was a grounding thing, because it was a fuller brush. It was a wooden brush. They're very special. They used to sell them on the, you know, back when.
I remember. I remember.
Yeah, I thought I lost it. Nope, it was right there. They gave me something to drink, which helped me a lot. And then they brought me back up and they sat me down next to Mama. And she's like, congratulations, I'm so proud of you. You did it. We expected this. We hoped for it, you know? And then I heard this voice in my head. It goes, hey kiddo, how you doing? And I realized, oh my God, I know who that is. It's Talata. He's a fifth dimensional non-corporeal entity who indwells that craft. All ETs, it's not really tech. The way they fly is all their craft are indwelt by a dimensional entity. And it's the craft are actually somewhat biological. They're made that way. And he indwells that craft like we indwell our bodies. And I knew who he was. And he was really, really proud of me too. And he says, we need to talk. This is an important day. We need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, what are we talking about? He said, you're of an age, you're 14, you know, it's time for you to decide what you're going to do with your life. At that moment in my life, I was all over the place. I mean, I wanted to be an astronomer. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I wanted to be a zoologist. I wanted to be a nurse. I was already candy striping at the local hospital. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, I have to pick one, you know, and he's like, this is important because the path you take from now on is going to direct you toward your goal. And I'm like, okay. And all I could think to tell him, and this has nothing to do with any of this, in my heart of hearts, in my whole self, I've only ever wanted to fly. Okay. My dad worked for NASA. I've seen every kind of flying craft there is. I got two uncles who were pilots. One was for United Airlines. They all had small airplanes, and I've been flying my whole life with them. Okay. I was even starting to learn how to fly. And I just told my mouth that I didn't think they'd say yes, not by a long shot, but I had to tell them what was in my heart. So I said, I want to fly. And it was dead silent for a minute. And he said, okay, this is good. This is doable. You want to learn to fly? He said, do you mean fly airplanes? And I said, no. And I realized what I really wanted. I wanted to fly that craft. I knew a little bit about it, a little, okay? And he said, well, you're going to have to learn we're going to have to figure out whether you're going to do it or not, because it takes talent, certain talents. He said, we got to find out you're physically capable of it and all of that. He said, it takes a while to figure that out. He says, once we do, if you make it, you'll go in for training. And I said, okay. He says, well, let's take a flight. Now I'm sitting in the chair, okay? And he hands me this wand looking thing, Mama does. And it links up to me psychically, and he hears it through that. And we connected. And he gave me a small briefing on what we were going to do, how we were going to do it. And he said he'd be backing me up the whole way if I flubbed up a little bit, but I'm fine, okay? And he said, let's go. And he gave me coordinates. And I started to go toward it. I did pretty good. And like in less than 5 minutes, I'm starting to come into view of Saturn. And they've dropped all the ports. I mean, we can see all the way around this craft. And there's only one word, it's phantasmagorical, okay? I saw Saturn, the rings, the whole shibboleth. And I realized two things. A, we don't have optics that are good enough for anything. The color out there is so unbelievable with your own eyes, okay? It was immense. It's a giant planet to begin with. It's a gas giant, but with the rings, it's really, really big. And it's got lots of moons around it and stuff. And I got my first real astronomy lesson from him that day. He taught me everything. We went above the planet to the north pole of it, and I saw an opening in the gases of this planet. And it was chevron shaped slightly, okay? And he said, do you know why that is? Why it's like that? And I'm like, no. He said, Saturn is very, very active frequency planet. In other words, so much is going on with it, it's almost ringing its own bell all the time. And the vibration of it, the frequency of it causes that pattern. He said, all sound causes patterns. And this is the pattern this planet is producing on this planet. I'm like, cool. He showed me that all the moons, and one of them actually revolves around, Saturn the wrong way. We went up and down through the rings. We had a really good time. It was a little while we were out there. I sat back down and he said, okay, we're going to go again. I'm taking over. Lay the wand down. I did. And we went and we ended up at the moon, our moon. That is like my love and my joy of all time. I'm in astronomy classes. I love the moon. Oh my God, I love the moon. My father was in NASA. I watched all the shots, been around it my whole life. We went around Saturn 8 times in almost like a spirograph, this way, that way. We did what they call a low ride, low incoming. We were about 300 feet above the surface of the moon. I got to see the backside of the moon. I got to see a base that they actually have there. I got to see relics of old type things that they had going on that they abandoned. I got to see the differences in topography and the colors of the soil that's on the moon, okay? And there are reasons it's all different color, and I got lessons in that. I got to see the LEM and the flag from the Apollo missions. It was like, wow. We decided to land and we went up on the rim. Like if you're facing the moon and you look up on the rim of the moon, we were like not center, but a little bit to about in the 11 o'clock position. And when we came down and landed, we soft landed. And when we stopped, I got to see the Earth. I guess he picked that spot because the Earth was in right there. But it was like looking at the phases of the moon on the Earth. Okay. And I was, ooh, okay, I'm done. It was incredible. And he said, now I need your promise. I need you to tell me that this is serious for you. And you could have dyed me purple and I wouldn't have cared at that moment. I was going to fly. Okay. I was convinced this is what I wanted to do. And he said, I need your promise. You swear to me, this is your assurance that you're going to do what we tell you to do. You're going to be morally responsible for everything that you're taught, that you're going to wholly participate. And this is not a joke. This is a real thing. You can't just start today and quit tomorrow. There's none of that. You're going to do it. I said, yes. Yep. And then they brought me back home. And when I think they washed my memory out a little bit because I was very, very overwhelmed at that moment. They gave me a chance to assimilate someone. I'm positive of that. So the next day, my dad gets me up and he says, I'm going to take you to a friend's house. We're going to go talk about what happened to you. And I'm like looking at him, I'm thinking, huh? Why? I don't realize that my father's a contactee. We got in the car and we started heading out. We took breakfast with us because in Miami in those days, there's no breakfast joints, okay? Especially not out in the Glades. And we're heading to Fort Worth. And we come to this house and we knock on the door and the door opens and oh my God, I'm staring at an astronaut. Okay, I know them. And it's Edgar Mitchell. and he's grinning at me and he says, "Hi, Dolly." And I was like, "Oh my God." And he said, "We're going to hypnotize you today." Neither one of them realized that I was completely awake. He actually attempted to hypnotize me because I'm not talking, okay? Nothing. And it didn't work. I'm unhypnotizable. They've tried several times. And it's basically because I'm in control of myself. That's one of the reasons I'm awake all the time. And he said, the best I can do for you is to teach you to lose the anxiety, to calm down, and, to stay, present, sentiently present when things are going weird. And he gave me some exercises and some meditations to do. He told me that he was starting a group for contactees, that he was one also. And I'm looking at my dad, and my dad's they're trying to get me to tell him what happened. And my dad said, "Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you what happened to me." And when I heard that, I was like, "Oh my God, what?" Huh? And he said, when I was 14, I was about 14, same thing, only I was camping with my brother and up in Wisconsin. He grew up on a farm up there. And they took a turkey and some beer, and they plucked it, they spit it, and they were cooking it. And it exploded because he didn't take the innards out of it first. The other thing went flying everywhere. And they went to this lake that was right there where they were camping, and they cleaned themselves up and the carcass because they were going to finish. While they were standing there looking at everything, they saw a light come up over the lake, and it hovered over the lake, and it just hovered there for a minute. And my dad said the next thing he knew, it was right over the top of them, and a big blue white light beam hit them. And then suddenly, he has no memory of what happened, but he was on board with them. He remembered that. And they talked to him about what he was going to do with his life and what his path was. And my dad's was to become an architect. My dad was unable to go to school like everybody else. My dad had severe dyslexia. And they told him that he was smart enough to learn on his own. My dad did learn on his own. My father became a registered architect in 26 states with no college degree whatsoever. He passed all his state boards first time out the gate, and his drawings were so good, the city of Miami used them on some of their park and recreational places. That was pretty cool. NASA heard about him, and through my grandfather, who worked for the government as an engineer, architectural engineer, and that's how he ended up at NASA. And that's how I began.
Wow.
Years later, okay, I got cleared to fly when I was, I guess it was almost 15 and a half. I started my tutorials, okay, learning how to fly. It took 4 years before I was capable of flying on my own. Right after my 19th birthday, I was working for Wells Fargo. I was in college, and it was the only job I could get where I could study at work, okay? I was becoming a nurse, and I was in a big, tall building, and I had to make clock rounds. It's like a key clock, and you put the key in it and turn it, and it hits a piece of paper to mark that I was on that floor at that station through my guard service. I had 17 floors plus the door to the roof. I went to the elevator, and that's the last thing I remember. Now, I'm already fully conscious, but I lost it that day. I woke up standing in front of the elevator, staring at it, and my partner freaking out. She's like, "What you've been gone overtime, where have you been?" Blah blah blah. So we did the only sane thing we could do. We opened that clock. I had to see the disc to make sure I hit all the floors. We went to the top floor because I missed the top key lock on the roof. When we got to that door, it was halfway open, which it should not have been. There was a huge dent on it from the outside, and my hand hurt really bad. And it's pretty much when I got an implant put into my hand that helps me fly. And there's pictures of it. You can see it better. Like right now, I don't think the camera's going to get it too good, but it's right in here. Okay. That's the only other time I've been out, and they said it would have hurt too much for me to be awake for it. That's why they knocked me out. But yeah, right after that, my birthday hit, and I started flying.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I met Preston about 6 years ago, almost exactly 6 years ago. The anniversary of that date's coming up. And it's because about a year prior to that, I just decided that I couldn't take it anymore. I live a dual life, and I see what's going on this planet, and then I see how I'm living with them. And I know what's coming, okay? And nobody's talking about it. Nobody. I mean,
I know.
nobody. It
I
really
know.
upset me. And I started talking to a lot of Mama, and I brought up the fact that I really wanted to disclose, and what would that mean? And they literally had a huge powwow with me about it. They did a debriefing with me about it, because it's like I have and will have all kinds of stuff coming at me because of that, because of what I'm doing. And he wanted me to be doggone sure that I was, fortified enough, for this task. It also meant grounding myself at a time when I should be off going with them already. And I decided to do it. And they said, okay, let's see who you can find. And I went out there and I started looking for somebody. And I went through like 5 or 6 different people. And I wasn't happy with what I was seeing. I was looking for somebody who is very good with facts, understands things, draws really good conclusions from his data, uses data, honest, the whole thing. I was very frustrated. I went back to squad and I said, I can't find anybody. And that's when he said Preston Dennett. And he said, look him up on YouTube. And he spelled his name for me. And I went and found his very first YouTube video. He was younger and he was doing it on feelings. And I was flabbergasted in Florida at the same time. I was like, oh my God, this is the person. Oh my God. I sent him an email and he emailed me less than 24 hours later. And it just went from there.
Yeah, when I first heard that, I'm like, wow, the Greys know about me, which I always kind of wondered about. And I suspected it because there had been a number of incidents that pointed towards that, where I was interviewing someone and UFOs would show up the next day or even during the interview. And certainly I've had a number of my own UFO sightings, one involving missing time. But to know that the Greys know about my research was really like humbling, exciting, and a little bit freaky all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten further confirmation of that. It was shortly after that, well, actually a couple of years ago, I should say, it was sometime after that, I got a call from a guy in England. He says, are you Preston Dennett, the UFO researcher? And I said, yes, how can I help you? That's always my number one objective, is to help people. That's kind of my mission here on Earth with this subject. Yes, I want to educate people and write books, but ultimately, most of the people who call me, I don't write about their stories. I am just there to sort of help them through it. So this guy from England calls me and starts telling me about his encounters and how the Greys took him on board and gave him a long conversation about upcoming challenges to our planet. We are going to be facing a lot of environmental changes and this sort of thing. And he asked me, have you ever heard of this? Because he was not really familiar with the whole UFO scene and all of this. And I said, well, yeah, I sure have. But in fact, that's pretty much the number one message they give to contactees, is warnings about nuclear proliferation, about environmental changes, Earth changes, about the dangers of pollution and greed and corruption in our warlike ways. And he says, oh, thank God, I had no idea. And we just basically talked for a while. At the end of the conversation, he said, well, I want to tell you one more thing. My encounter actually happened this morning. And the Greys told me your name and said, we want you to contact Preston Dennett. And so I'm like, wow, here we go again. So yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. So when Dolly contacted me, she was initially very tight-lipped, very wary to reveal too much details. And honestly, it was like pulling teeth in the beginning to get any detail out of her. And as I started to interview her, because she wanted to tell her story, I'm like, listen, you're going to have to be more forthcoming. You're not giving me details. And she apologized and says, well, the problem is I have kept quiet my whole life. I've trained myself not to say a word. She's learned the hard way, like many contactees, that there is ridicule, there's disbelief, there's skepticism, there's people who do not react well to when you come forward with these stories of UFO contact. So it took her a while to be more forthcoming, but I would say a year or two, I started to realize Dolly was different. Pretty much everything she told me, I've heard from other people. There's definitely a few things that were somewhat new for sure. But a lot of it I had heard before, but it was piecemeal. It was, through the lens of fear, certainly, or often recalled through hypnotic regression. Dolly's was fully conscious. I've only had a handful of people out of hundreds who don't need hypnosis to recall their encounters. And as Dolly slowly became more comfortable and really started to reveal her story of going to other planets, going on board mother ships and seeing animal husbandry centers and arboretums, of going to school with the ETs and learning all this stuff, only then did I realize, okay, Dolly's story is the most extensive I've ever investigated. And, she spent, some good time telling her experience at age 14. That's just one of them. She has decades of this. So.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Please
you
swear
froze
for
up.
us.
In our book Symmetry, we kind of cover as much as we could. Can you hear
Sorry,
me?
You cut out for a minute. Can you just repeat like the last point that you were making so that we can hear it all?
Yeah, I started to
Preston,
realize Dolly's story is much more extensive. Am I frozen?
You're still blippy. Let's give him a second.
Yeah, I might have to come back in, leave and then come back in.
I want to tell you something, just so you know. I'm being hedged right now to do it. I don't know whether I somehow get this to you or not. I was trying very hard, but after I found Preston about 4 years in, Talata started telling me to look up certain people. Okay. And he will confirm it. I'm telling you the truth. You're one of them. You're one of the first ones that he told me to come after to speak to. I've been searching for other contactees who are like myself, who have enough consciousness going on to really know what's going on. And he has his reasons. And
So,
that's what
so your contact suggested me by name?
Absolutely. Yep. Went and found you on the internet.
This is actually the second time this has happened. And I don't want to take away from your story, but hi, Preston. I'm just going to finish what I'm saying. And then please repeat again what you said before it all froze up, because it's all really important. I was just going to say, I also have not had any regression therapy, and I'm intergenerational, and this has happened to me quite a few times, but it wasn't until a certain point in my life that at whammo, it all started coming back. So anyway, that's very affirming and humbling. Thank you, Dolly, for telling me about that.
You're welcome.
Preston, please share again. Thank you so much for your patience.
Yeah, like again, I'm very sorry.
No, it's not you. It's technology.
It's funny, Karen. When I first met you, I thought, "Gosh, you sure do remind me of Dolly." So I thought that was there were some very interesting parallels between your story and
Remember
hers.
I told you that Talata said, look her up?
Yes. And after I met you, Karen, I'm like, wow, I'm gonna have to tell Dolly about you, because boy, you guys have some amazing similarities. But as I was saying, Dolly's been taken to arboretums. She's been taken to animal husbandry centers on board mother ships, to other planets. She's learned to fly with the ETs. She's been present on board when people across the planet are being pulled up for healings and guidance and so forth. So I started to realize her story is definitely the most extensive I've ever researched. And we did our best to cover everything in the book Symmetry, but each time I do an interview, like even today, I learned new stuff. Each time we talk, and afterwards I called Dolly. I'm like, "Why the hell didn't you tell me this when I was interviewing you?" And she's like, "I'm sorry. It's a lot. A lot of this stuff comes up, and each time she talks about it, you remember new stuff." Or
exactly.
her story is very extensive. She's got a very important message to share. And what I love most about Dolly's story is it's not through the lens of fear. You know, she's enjoyed her time with the ETs for days, weeks at a time. So it is absolutely an unusual and very important story, but not unique. I know there are other people out there. I've talked to a gentleman in Utah who has fully conscious contact. There's a lady in Australia. I call her Wendy. She's woken up. Usually people will wake up at some point. Often, you know, Whitley Strieber, he was, I think, in his 30s or so. That's often when it happens. People are adults. Dolly just managed to do it when she was 14. And if you know Dolly, she's pretty feisty. She's very strong-willed, quite stubborn. She's a real go-getter. So it makes sense that she was able to do this at a pretty young age.
Oh, fantastic. Now, one thing you touched on a little bit, Preston, that I hope the both of you can address is I think there's been a PSYOP on planet Earth for quite a long time. I remember it even, in the 70s. I'm 66 years old now, so I've been around the block a few times, but it was to make us afraid of the stereotypical grays. And so many people have these really disturbing stories. Now, I myself think, and this is just my opinion, I have no facts to base it on, but I think that there are some government programs where they abduct people and let them think that it's an alien abduction so that they go back and spread the fear. I'm not saying that people have had scary ET experiences that they're not real. I don't mean it that way, but I'm just saying, you know, because my experiences have been so positive. Dolly's are so positive. But can you speak to this issue on, you know, why, Dolly, your experience was overall positive? And what do you think is going on as far as why there are these people? And it seems like everyone's only interested in the really scary, horrible, traumatic stories. They don't want to hear my story. They want to hear the positive ones. Anyway, I just wondered if you could speak to that.
I'll preface that with our society as it is. The last 50 years, and you're truly correct when you say PSYOP, we have been conditioned to be negative, to fear everything. It is a way to control humankind. It's easier to herd us with fear than anything else. And so they make everything horrible, terrible, from horror movies that people get hooked on to bad video games. All of it is, it's just horror all the way around. I'm also a nurse, and I can give you a corollary, okay? When human beings come to the doctor and the nurse to the hospital, I was an ER nurse, they're not happy to be there. And they're afraid, I mean, horrifically afraid. And I've learned through my experience that humans are afraid first and then ask questions later. I've been spit on, hit, attacked, you name it, bitten, you name it, by people who did not want me to touch them. Total, absolute abject fear. And it takes a lot to calm them down and reason with them about what's happening to them, okay? Now, add all that from here, and you have people who are coming on board. They are not abductees, they are contactees. Everybody is subconsciously aware of their contact. They just don't realize it consciously. It's because they're so doggone afraid that they can't handle it to be conscious here and know what's going on there. The reasons for these contacts are very serious. Our poles have been excursioning for the last 100 years. For the last 80 years, we're now taking on heavy loads of gamma radiation. It is affecting our genome. Our DNA is derousing. The cancer, the heart problems, the mental problems, autoimmune disorders, everything, you name it, everything that's going on with us physically is a result of that. We know for a fact that this is absolutely true because NASA had 2 astronauts who were identical twins. One went to the ISS for over a year. When he came back, he no longer matched his brother DNA-wise, and he did before. That's a serious issue, and it confirmed for them that open gamma radiation does destroy us. It is affecting the animals on this planet. It has been causing massive extinctions. I mean, we're in trouble right now, big trouble. They are holding us up. They're doing what they can. I'm 64, so I know you remember this. You remember in the 70s when they talked about men need to stop wearing tighty-whities? They were trying
Mm.
to blame that on sperm counts. Well, I
Mhm.
got news for you, it wasn't the tidy whities, not at all. It was gamma sterilizing everybody. ET
Mhm.
does go through this. They have issues with it as well. They bolster us up. Then people say, well, they took my sperm. You bet. That's the fastest way to get your DNA that they know how to do. They don't really like taking our blood from us. It's a big deal to them not to do that. So they'll take sperm or liquid from your mouth, that type of thing, to check your DNA. It is frightening. I fly people. That is one of my main missions, is to bring people up so that they can be examined and helped from time to time. I hear it all. I see how they react. I dealt with it as a nurse. I've taken people in hand, sat with them, hugged them, whatever it takes, explaining things to them all the way. We will take them through the craft, show them everything. It's like, this is fun. This is like a park, man. You need to check this out. We'll even let them sit in the seat. We do whatever is possible to calm everybody down. Humanity as a whole has been so pressured with so many disinformational realities that aren't real, that they don't know what to think. And we're at that point right now where there's just so much swirling around in everybody's heads. And you spoke of an agency. Yes, it's called My Lab. It is worldwide. It started with Majestic 12, MK, and now My Lab. And people are being terrorized for a reason, because they want you to think that ET are bad. They have a false flag coming. It's not good. The agenda for this is quite astounding to me, that we also have something else going on, and I hope you know it. I'm positive you do. They have a computer. It's a quantum computer. It's in the Antarctic. That's why they want no one there. They need all that power in it. They need no heat around that thing at all to kill it. Okay, they need absolute zero to run this thing, and it is now functioning. It's on. I don't know whether you can hear it in your head, but oh by God, I do. Okay, I have a nickname for it. I call it Baby. Okay, it's from
It's
an old
like
movie.
it's like a resonance. It's like just like this resonant frequency that's
Correct.
destabilizing in some way. I can't explain
And
it.
they've wired the entire planet. They've got a neural net up above our heads, whether you want to believe that or not, it's absolutely true. And they have 5G now, which can transmit those frequencies to you, and you can hear it unconsciously. Okay. So they're attacking people that way. It's if you ever wonder why people just suddenly start going mad and killing people, I got news for you. That's part of it right there. They've been trained by videos and violence in their lives, and then that starts and they just flip. It just flips them. There are people. Now, here's the good news about this. We are waking up as a society. There are people like us who are starting to hear the good stuff, and we're starting to hear and see what's actually going on around us. And we're working towards consciousness. Everybody wake up, awaken. Huge movements of it. I can feel it my whole life. It's coming. Okay. I want to see it go a little bit faster, and so does ET. And that is their main message. They want you to wake up. They want humanity to realize that you've got a pineal gland in your brain, and it's psychic. It is your phone call to your physical body, to your consciousness, who you really are. And they want everybody to link back up with that. They want you to use it like you and I are talking to one another. You have abilities in that, incredible abilities in that. And the first one is you hear the truth. You can't lie to somebody who's wide awake. You cannot. And that's key. Okay. You can also hear them. Once you come to that ability, you'll start to realize, oh, wow, I'm getting, wow. And you almost get downloads overnight. You wake up and you go, I know about this now. I get this. Huge awakenings.
Yeah, I came into this field completely naive of all this. I was a skeptic and found out UFOs were real when I found out my family were having encounters, friends, coworkers, and started to research it. And I bought instantly into this ET threat narrative. Thought this.
Give him a second to catch back up. Isn't it funny that it's always happening every time
This is terrible. People are being kidnapped against their will. Can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Now we can.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I came into this field naive and bought into the ET threat narrative. I really thought that people were being kidnapped against their will by bug-like entities who are experimenting on them. And it took me a good year or two of really digging in, starting to interview people to figure out what is truly happening here. And yes, UFO contact can be extremely traumatic for people for a number of reasons. We naturally fear the unknown. There is a very concerted effort by our own governments to make this look like a threat when it isn't. And after interviewing, 50, 100 people, then 200 and so forth, I think we've got a pretty good handle on the ET agenda. And yes, people are physically examined. That can be very scary. And that's often as far as some people are willing to move forward, because the terror is so real that they do suppress it. The ETs, allow them to not remember. And when they do remember, what they remember is, thrashing around on the table in fear. And they don't go farther than that. But many, many do. People who have regular contact, usually, in most cases, start to remember the good stuff. Our psyche has a tendency to deal with the trauma first. But if you actually look at this is a really important point that I want people to know, because a lot of people are having contact. It's not just one or two, it's millions.
I agree.
And what is actually happening to people is, yes, you're being physically examined, you're getting a checkup. You are being healed. I have healing cases from all across the world. Every major researcher, almost without exception, these cases stretch back 100 years. This is a major ET agenda, as Dolly was saying. She's been healed more than once. And beyond that, they will take you to the engine room. They want us to know how these craft fly. There's a big push to sort of move us away from fossil fuels. They will take you on board to the observation deck and show you Earth, show you Saturn, show you the moon, to sort of wake you up to the fact that, there is other life out there. We are not alone. And as I mentioned earlier, they give messages and warnings. They really want us to know the dangers of nuclear proliferation. And I don't care if you're talking to human-looking ETs back in the 1950s with the contactee era, or grays, or strange humanoids, or praying mantis. It's the same message over and over again. Wake up. And almost without exception, again, contactees are profoundly psychic. They're not only telepathic, they experience the ability to do hands-on healing. That's very, very common. This is an ability we have. Telepathy, precognition, past life recall, astral travel. I don't think it's any coincidence that when I started doing UFO research, I started having out-of-body experiences. And it's taken me a while to realize that I am myself a contactee. And I was talking to a guy in England. He's like, I think everyone on Earth is a contactee. I'm like, really? Why do you say that? He says, I've seen so many people on board, and most of them aren't aware of it. They're entranced. They're leaving without any memories. And Dolly said the same darn thing. She's like, yes, I think on some level, everyone is a contactee.
I wanted to ask you too, I'm convinced that I don't like calling them elites. I like calling them the parasite class. But the parasite class seems to be engineering things towards a fake ET invasion coming. Now,
Yes.
Dolly, I watched you and Preston on Rex Bear's show, and you did such a beautiful explanation on what ET actually wants. What is their goal? What is their purpose? Now, we've touched on a little bit, but I'm wondering if we can get even a little bit more into this, because it just does not jive with me, this divisive narrative just does not sit with me at all, does not resonate with any of my experiences. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, let's backstory it a little bit. Our Earth goes through cycles. We're not originally from here, we are originally from Mars. we are related to ET. They are our progenitors. They are family to us. We can interbreed back and forth with one another. They're in the human genome with us. We have the same DNA. We also have the same DNA as all the animals, everything across the universe. There's symmetry to it. It's all relatable. Their agenda with us is a million times over, because every 12,000 years on this particular planet, for this particular reason, we have to be evacuated. We go through a period where we're here to learn. We're supposed to be evolving. We're supposed to be catching up with them. As children, if you hand your kid everything he needs, it's going to be spoiled rotten and not know what the hell he's doing, right? We're here to learn, okay? We're here to evolve properly. Right now, we're not doing a good job of it. This particular iteration, we all kind of suck, okay? And that's because this negative influence has been here, just enslaving our minds, enslaving us, and using us as slaves for a grand amount of time. Their true wish for us is to get off the slave train, to seek them out, to come with them, to be ready to go, because we are now coming to the point where they are going to come and get us. It's serious, okay? We're about to experience some real stuff on this planet. They'll do anything to help us. They're kind of hamstrung for two reasons. A, they're autonomous beings, as we are. We were given free will, okay? We call the ball. We as a society together, we're all together, have the rights to decide for ourselves what it is we're doing. Well, right now we're slaves, and those rights have been taken from us. And they need us to catch up to that idea and understand that it's time to react to it, to come through it. Not to fight, but to react and come through. The old adage, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, that is exactly what each of us individually are doing when we as a group decide not to react. And that's what's happening. And we all have to do that. It's our job. It's a moral imperative with us. And they want us to know that. So as we wake up, we can stand firm and say, no, y'all aren't getting away with those lies anymore. Nope, we're not buying your stories anymore. Yes, we know what you're up to, and it's not going to happen. It's just not, because we know who we are, and where we're going. And no, stop. Okay. These parasites want to survive because they've tried really hard to get what they want without working for it, without advancing for it, without the knowledge, the wisdom. Okay. They want to be handed everything. They're rotten, little creepy. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't have nice things to say, so I'll shut up about that. But it's hurting them. They're just hurting themselves, because they think now they've dug underground. They have these huge bases. They have all these storage facilities. They have seed depositories. They think that they're going to take what's coming and triumph. But it dawned on them about 50 years ago that, oh, wait a minute, everybody else is still going to be around when this happens, and they're going to fight us for it. And this campaign to take away our ability to defend ourselves, our ability to take care of ourselves, feed ourselves, everything. And they have planned genocide. And ET is sick to their stomachs over it. They're watching it happen, and they can't directly intervene because we have karma. So did they. We have to fulfill our destiny. Okay. So they're sitting there, and right now, they had to bug out. About a year and a half ago, ETs have bugged out. They are not here. Our electromagnetic magnetosphere is so dangerous for them to be in, i.e. crashing and stuff like that. They've had to pull back. Okay. It's actually happening throughout our entire galaxy. We have a huge current sheet coming through, and it's affecting everybody. Okay. They've gone to safety, and they're waiting. Once that CME hits, that knocks us back to the Stone Age, they will land on every road, every airport, every yard, everywhere that you could possibly imagine. And there's plenty of them to do it worldwide. You can open the doors and say, get on now. Okay. And we're going to be taken, because behind that, in about 8 or 10 years, we're looking at our sun going micronova, and nobody will survive that. Nobody. Okay. So that's what we got to look forward to. That's the good news part of it. But we just have to be willing to do the work we need to do to stay here, to facilitate it. And our push against the governments, our mental push, in other words, our dealing with reality versus them trying to keep us in stupidity, is critical. That's one of the reasons we need to wake up. That is the deeper story. And I know that's what you're asking me. I know. We do have the ability to facilitate that, to stop them, thwart them, so that they don't end up annihilating us. Okay, we need to be here when they come back, and we can't let them get away with it. We just can't. And it doesn't mean shooting. Right.
This is actually really good news. I know this sounds like a lot for people to take in, but I think it's important that everyone remember, this has been my real mission from the beginning, is to let people know that we are not alone in this universe, one, and second, to let people know that there is life after death, that we do survive, that there's no such thing as death. We are eternal beings. And we have been on a downward spiral on Earth for centuries. Life on Earth has been brutal. And while we are progressing, let's face it, we are on the wrong path and it's not sustainable. We are on a path towards self-destruction. And when we started using nuclear weapons, this is when the ETs started coming in very large numbers.
Mm-hmm.
The modern age of UFOs, 1947, coincides pretty much exactly with the atomic age. And that's when they said, you know what? Let's contact the world leaders. The world leaders were not receptive because they said, you know, you need to disclose, you need to grow spiritually, you need to stop using nuclear weapons. Our leaders said, no, screw you. And that's when ET said, okay, we're taking everybody on board we can. We're going to do displays over major city centers. We're going to show ourselves to children, like the Rua, Zimbabwe case. And Ariel Elementary School is not unique. I've got a book of 100 schoolyard encounters. They are announcing their presence. They are have a huge agenda to wake people up. Betty Andreasen talked to a guy named Kroshka, who told her exactly what they've told Dolly. Kroshka told Betty Andreasen, mankind is on the road to going sterile. This is why we're collecting your genetics. And Kroshka told her, love is the answer for humankind. And it sounds so simple and idealistic, but it's so true. If we would allow love and compassion to guide our every action, we would overcome all our problems really very quickly. So it's time for people to stop looking to liars for answers. You're not going to find the answers by reading books or going to the government or watching TV. It all comes from within you. You have to start using your own abilities to discern truth. You have to start really amping up your morals and your ethics and doing the right thing. I know.
Here we go.
There are people within government who are good people.
Absolutely.
There he is.
Yeah, so
it's good everywhere. Yeah.
It's time for everyone. We have to lay down our weapons. We have to stop wars. I mean, seriously, we need to start gardening. People, we might.
The way things are right now, everybody needs to grow some food in their yard. They need to be able to eat.
Be going through some tough times. Gather some water. Gather some food.
You know, I have guides, spiritual guides. Some are ET, some are angelic. God only knows. Might be my higher self, a combination. But I was told very strongly to plant a garden. Now I don't own my own home, so I got everything ready and did a container garden. And I made so many mistakes because I have no idea what I'm doing. And I also bought a food dehydrator. That was really clear that I needed to start, eating as much of it as I can, because there's nothing like something you've grown right in your own yard, but also to dehydrate and keep the extra. And I've been telling other people, and they go, oh no, we don't know how to do that. Oh, we don't know how to do that. And I'm going, what? You'd rather go hungry? So I didn't mean to take away from what you folks were saying, but I agree 1,000%. And what's amazing with all the mistakes I made, and I don't use chemicals, so I'm letting the bugs eat some of the plants because there's more than enough for me to eat. And so I just keep saying, well, it'll be up to God how much food I end up with. And I'm ending up where I've got this stacks of
Tons.
dehydrator
Yeah,
trays
tons.
going every
That's right.
day trying
Right.
to
You can
put
do
it
it
all
pretty
away,
fast.
and
Right.
medicinal herbs and things like that. So I just totally on board with what you folks are saying. We
Yeah.
need to ensure that we
Yeah.
can survive and possibly share, and then but it's so great knowing that there are forces and beings that have our back, you know,
Absolutely.
and I think
That's the one
what's
thing they
so
don't want you to
inspiring.
know. That's right.
Yeah.
One of the things that's important that you'll learn as this process progresses with you is that the reason we come to this 3D place, that's the whole physical construct of the universe. It's all 3D, okay? But there are 12 dimensions within this construct.
Mhm.
And as we learn, we're all in source together, okay? We know everything in source, but you can't employ that knowledge yourself because you don't experience it. It's everybody. So you come here as an individual and learn it for yourself. Everything you learn, you wear wisdom like nobody's business, and it goes with you. You take it. You're able to employ what you understand. It raises your consciousness, your frequency. You go higher and higher and higher. You become more and more wise, knowledgeable, everything. Everybody has to stop being, I'm just going to use the word. Humanity's been taught to be lazy. People aren't working. They expect the government to take care of them. They're sucking on the teat of the government. It's bad. Okay, we're not doing for ourselves anymore. 100 years ago, our grandmothers knew how to take care of business and survive. We've lost that ability. We have it all too cushy, and we focus on things that are not going to help us do that at all. And that's part of waking up, is going toward that, realizing that everything you learn, you wear, you keep it, you won't lose it. None of us by any means are stupid. We're very highly intelligent creatures. Look what we can do. And it's just important. That's part of our karma, actually. And I keep telling everybody, it doesn't matter where you are when you start, just begin. Because it will take you very far. That's right.
Yeah, and let go of fear. Fear does not help. The universe is absolutely safe. And you can learn this by learning out-of-body travel, which can be very scary. I remember my first out-of-body experience. It was quite frightening. Well, not the first, but early on, it was a little scary. But then you get to go to the other side and you realize, wow, we are eternal beings. We have all these abilities. It will change your life. And this is what I see, people who have a near-death experience. I mean, there's many avenues to spiritual growth. And we really need to concentrate on that. And people who want to reach out to ETs, you can through meditation. There's a big CE5 movement, and that's where disclosure is going to come from. Our government is not going to disclose. The steps they've made so far are laughable. I mean, it's absurd. And they're never going to fully disclose, not willingly, certainly. Absolutely not the US. It will happen. It's going to happen because you cannot hide truth. You cannot hide the sky. I think really the cutting edge of UFO research and the whole UFO movement is us, is the people, is CE5 work. Dolly has been on board a craft many times when people are down on the ground, flashing up their little lights. And she's there responding with the ETs, like, yes, we're here. Wake up. You're doing good. So this is just a message to all people out there who, want to have contact. You can. Through meditation is a good way to start. Dream work. All of this will open you up to a level to where you are ready to have contact. And it will happen. Just real quick, Dolly talks about there being a mass pickup, a mass landing. We're all getting taken off planet. That's a very common theme among contactees. I've heard it a million times. Let me just tell you about James Santiago, a gentleman I interviewed. Am I frozen?
You were. Jane who?
James Santiago is a contactee. He had many dreams where UFOs were landing en masse. And it was his job to take people on board and let them know not to be afraid.
Mhm.
Same thing with another lady, Jeannie Noble. She was quite scared of her contacts. She had contacts with praying mantis like ETs. Little grays standing at the foot of her bed were giving her spiritual messages. And one of them was, "We are coming. We are coming." And she had these dreams of UFOs landing en masse on our planet. And it was her job, just like James, to gather people up and lead them on board and let them know that they're going to be fine. I hear this all the time. This is going to be so exciting. I can hardly wait. That is going to be a good day in human history.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Oh my goodness. Every time I do this show, we're quickly running out of time. I just want to give you both some space now. If you want to share anything else, or if you have a message. I know this whole episode has really been a message, but if you have anything specific you want to say, or and then don't forget to tell folks where we can find you.
All right, I'll start. If you can hear me, I hope. The book is called Symmetry, a true UFO adventure. I wanted Dolly Among the Stars, but asked her, what title do you want? She said Symmetry, which this is one of the messages the ETs taught her. But yeah, the book is available on Amazon. You can go to my website, prestondennett.weebly.com. I've got excerpts there if you want to read a little bit about it, or contact me. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I've got a YouTube channel. Dolly's put out her photographic evidence. So she's got a lot of evidence to support her case. Other witnesses who were there with her, medical evidence, photographs, moving films. Dolly has a YouTube channel she can tell you about. But yeah, the book is available on Amazon, and I really appreciate, Karen, you having us on the Quantum Guides show. It's a true honor.
Oh, it's total privilege for me. Total privilege. I appreciate you both so much. And, I actually didn't get all the links. I will talk to you just very briefly after we conclude this episode and make sure I've got the link so people can find you. Dolly, what say you?
I'm on YouTube. It's under Dolly Safran. I'm on Facebook. My Facebook is locked down for a reason. The government doesn't want me to have an open Facebook, but if you message me on Messenger, I'll see it and I'll contact you and probably friend you after that. And that's how you can link up with me that way. If I'm on a video or something, I always answer questions in the videos. I go that far, and I've been known to talk to people outside of everything. Also, it just depends on what's going on. Once I'm moving, I'm getting ready to move this week, as a matter of fact. And once I get all settled in, I'm going to start making my own little videos of teaching you how to use your abilities. I have one place that I'd like to tell everybody about. Russell Targ created it. He was a CIA guy, but he left this for humanity. It's called ESP Trainer. And it's at the Play Store. And you can put it on your Apple, your Android, or your PC. And it's a good way to track your psychic ability. Everybody needs confidence when they're learning something new. And this is a way to give you confidence and know when you're using it versus when you're not. And tracks your progress in their 3 stages. Go for it. Use it. Teach your kids to use it. That kind of thing. And the only other thing that I have to say is thank you very much. And I want to say the one thing I say to everybody. They're us. We are them. We are one. We are all one. And love is the answer. Love one another. Treat each other as you would have be treated. It's the most important thing we can do. We learn from that.
Wonderful.
That's
Wonderful. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today on the Quantum Guide Show. I'd love to have you both back separately, together, whatever. We could talk more about this. And I want to thank the viewers for joining us today and for popping in and checking out the Quantum Guide Show. So I just want to say much love and light to everybody, and we'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to Karen's YouTube channel, click the like button, and share this show with your friends. Check out Karen's website at KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. All the links are available in the description box below. Until the next time, keep up the good work.
Splendor in endlessness puts all my inner strife to rest. For time gives birth to hurriedness. It all makes sense, well, more or less. And the sages put me to their test. With heart and soul, I do my best to find the answers to my quest. I wonder and I must confess, I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all an illusion, then I'm willing to play. It's okay. It's okay.